Hey, my name is Jeannie. I go by the name of Flossie. Um, this is my first time uploading a video. I'm walking out on faith, something I've been wanting to do for a while, but I've been so scared to do until last night at Bible study. Um, my bishop was talking about Christians. What's the difference between Christians and disciples? And he broke it down, who is a Christian and what is a disciple, what's the difference. And then it stuck with me, and I've been talking to my husband about certain things. And then last night he said, right before he got off from speaking last night, my bishop, he was talking about people have testimonies and never share their stories to help anybody else because they are always so scared of somebody going to be in their business, somebody knowing how bad they struggle, somebody you just don't want nobody to know, because everybody in this world wants everybody to think they live a perfect world, but there's no such thing. Life happens to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, or middle class. Life happens. And it stuck with me. It really stuck with me because I was one of those people that did not want nobody in my business. I didn't want nobody to know personally the trials that I was going through because I want everybody to seem that I was so perfect. But there's some people that got to know me and that I talked to them on a spiritual level that knows my life without God, where I'm at right now, it would be without God. So I'm going to upload 10 videos. This is going to be my testimony. And I pray and I hope that I could be an inspiration to somebody or help save somebody. Like, you might know somebody going through the same things I went through that you might hear me talk about. Share it to them. Because sometimes God allow things to teach us. And sometimes he'll let us know ahead of time as a child not to go through it, but he'll allow us to do certain things. And my 10 videos, I'm going to call them The Road to Redemption. And anybody close to me knows what that means to me, Road to Redemption. And on my last video, I'm going to break it down, what Road to Redemption really is to me. But I'm going to take it back to my first testimony. I have to take it back to 2011. Yeah, we're in 2019. Yeah, but I got to thank God for all the things that he's brought me from until now. So 2011, this is the breaking point when I actually had to realize God was taking me through something to teach me, to bring me closer to him, and to know that he is real. And in 2011, I found out I had cancer. It was really, 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 really bad for me. I was married to my first husband, and it wasn't a perfect marriage. And I was really sick. I actually thought I was pregnant again. God blessed me with 3 beautiful boys. But I actually thought I was pregnant again. And I was going through the motions, and I was bleeding and I was gaining weight. You know, if you see me, you would think I was 7 months pregnant. But I don't know. I was just going through it. So one day at work, I went to the bathroom, and God blessed that I was working with family. And I went to use the bathroom, and I couldn't get up because I started hemorrhaging. And I called my cousin into the bathroom to see what I was seeing because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And he was like, "Girl, you better call the ambulance. You better go to the hospital. Something is serious wrong with you." So I was like, well, I call Carterell BYGM. I asked to speak to the nurse. And you know, as females, you know what a nurse, if you ain't soaking something in an hour, then don't bother, or just go to the emergency room. Well, I told them right then and there I needed to see somebody, and they worked me in, and I got there. When I got there, they automatically took me back, and they did a ultrasound. And if you've been pregnant before, you know that your first ultrasound is a vaginal ultrasound that they put in, inside of you, and to see. Well, they couldn't do that with me. So she rushed and got the doctor. And when she went and got the doctor, they took me into another room where they do an ultrasound and the vaginal ultrasound, one on top of my stomach and one down there. So the doctor went to talking and doing whatever they were doing. And the nurse walks out, and my doctor looks at me and said, Miss Watt, we're going to have to send you to Raleigh to the cancer center immediately. You have to go and tell your job you have to go immediate leave. He said, if I operate on you right now, you will die on the operating table with me. And he said the tumor, this is how he broke it down to me, the tumor is the size of a baby watermelon. He said, get your things in order and just be ready to get a phone call sometime today. So at that moment in time, I'm listening to him tell me this, and it didn't hit me, not just yet. It didn't hit me yet. And so as he was telling me, and I got up and I got in my car and I drove back to my job. And when I got to my job and I saw my cousin, that's when it hit me what the doctor said. Because my cousin said, Jeannie, what did they say? And I broke down. And I told them I have to go on immediate leave because my tumor was the size of a baby watermelon. And I told him exactly what the doctor said. And when I'm sitting in front of my boss and my cousin, I broke it down, and I just broke down, and it hit me. And I'm going to tell you something, fellas and ladies. When you going through something and you're married, the vows that you take is very sacred. But you'll truly find out who is for you when you get sick. Get sick. If that man that you with truly loves you, oh, he gonna be broke down along with you. But the man that or woman that is not, they'll split. Get what I'm saying? It will be no concern of theirs to you. As I've been saying, as I got in the car, I called my husband at that time, and he was so nonchalant about it. He was more worried about how the bills going to get paid and this and that. And I'm not going into detail about that, but that's just the gist of that. So I get home and I call my mom and I tell my mom and I call my best friend and then I get the phone call to go to Raleigh. And I get to Raleigh and I'm worried. Not one time did I ever pray, stop and talk to God or anything like that. Not once, because I'm going to tell you something. I was out in the world. I was living. I was, like everybody say, I was living my best life. And I was doing whatever I wanted to do at that moment in time. So when I got to the cancer center, they did my blood work. They did it. They ran all types of tests. So when they set me down, I have a disorder. I have a blood disorder that I'm always 2 pints low of blood. My body doesn't make blood like that. So I'm already anemic severely. to the point that my heart is weak. It could stop. If I go under a knife at that moment in time, my heart could stop because I would have bled out. I would just gone. And the tumor had moved kidneys. It was ripping me from the inside. It was attached itself to my intestines. It was bad. It was bad. And they told me that I had a 95% chance of dying on the operating table. And they have to do surgery immediately. But they said they were going to try to put me on some meds to build my blood, build my heart, and so it gave me time to go see several specialists to help, because if the surgery was successful, there would be a lot more surgeries that I needed to take, whatever. So I went through that by myself. Now, you heard me tell you I was married by myself. There was an incident that I had to take my youngest child, Joshua, with me to a doctor's appointment. And I had to have 3 things put in me, and it was painful. And I couldn't have my child, because at the time he was 4 years old, out in the lobby by himself, so he had to be with me. And I realized at that moment in time, when I was going through it, and they had him in a corner where he couldn't see anything, but he heard me moaning, groaning, like in pain. And he had got out of that corner and grabbed my hand and he told me, he said, "Mama, squeeze my hand." He said, "I know it hurts, but you could squeeze my hand, but don't break it." Right then, I knew I couldn't have my son no more there, seeing what I was going through. And after that, and I remember I told you, I'm sorry, it still gets to me about when I talk about this. And it got to the point that I had to beg my mom to keep my son when the times, because the short amount of time, I found out August 12th of 2011, and it was just a short amount of time. I was going to all these doctors that I had to ask my mom to just watch him, because he was seeing too much. And that right there broke my heart, that my son saw me and in a worse way. And, and the other boys, they the youngest will go home and tell the youngest ones, because the oldest ones, because I let my kids be kids. I didn't want them worrying about mama. And remember, I told you that my ex was at the time, my husband was so worried about what was getting paid. I'm going to tell you something. This is where I know God. My testimony, but this is where it lies in now. I had to rent a car from August 11th until October. I'm not working. I had short-term disability through my job. Short-term disability. I didn't have no savings, really. Like I said, I was living my best life. I was doing whatever I wanted to do, go buy whatever. And not one day I lacked of nothing. The rental car was paid, my bills were paid, and I had lump sum of money left over. And the co-payments for my doctors was a $200, $300, some of them was almost close to $400, $500 that I had to pay co-pay. And I look at it like, at the time, I was like, now that I look back, ain't nothing but God. But it came down to one last visit. And they told me we got to go ahead and do this surgery. And this is the time when I turned to God, and I was like, okay, God, I got home, went into my private space, and I had a conversation with him. And I said, God, you know what? I ain't been perfect. I did what I wanted to do, and I did it everything not by the book of God. And I accept, if this is my time, it's my time. but I'm going to enjoy my children. From that day forth, I lived like I wasn't going to be here tomorrow. I set up my funeral, the picture I want to use on my obituary. I set up the piece of land that I wanted to be buried. I wanted to be buried by my grandfather. I set everything up to where I was going to be, and I enjoyed my kids. I lived like it was my last. I wanted them not to worry about me. I did everything, but not once did I ever sat back and thought about where was God at. But I'm going to tell you where the miracle comes in. The day of my surgery, the day of my surgery, they had already put meds in me. And everything I'm telling you now, I'm going by hearsay from my mother. They already put meds in me and I was out of it. My mother said that my son Joshua, that was always with me, demanded. She said he kicked up so bad that he wanted his mama. So the nurse and the doctor made sure, because, there was a 95% chance that I wasn't going to make it. So they was going to, whatever that my baby wanted, they was going to make sure that he got to see me. And my mom said, my son told me, because she knew I was out of it, that they said I was going to be all right. Did you hear what I said? He said, they say. So I went through my surgery, came back out, my organs are failing. Everything that they said that was possible, it was happening. My organs were shutting down bit one by one. And you know how, when your intestines and everything else ain't working, instead of going out the other way, it's going to come out this way. So everything was coming out this way. So it was just turning so bad for me, so bad, so quick. And my mom said, because I could hear everything, but I couldn't really talk. My mama said my son knew when I was out of surgery. She said he kicked up at the beginning, demanding to see me. She said, but when I went back in surgery, she said it was like somebody was sitting down playing with him. She said he was so good. He was sitting there quiet, talk. She said he was talking to himself. And she said she was wondering who he was talking to. She said, but when it was time, when they was coming out, he had already told my mama I was already out of surgery. Let me tell you, God was whispering. He had sent a comforting angel to my child because my child was worried about me. But God had already told him I was going to be all right. So he told my mom that he wanted to lay beside me when they got out. Only thing I could remember coming out, because I was in and out, that I would look to my left and I would see a bed, literally a bed beside me, and my son looking at me. And I can hear him saying, Mama, they said you're going to be fine. Mama, you're going to be all right. I can't sleep until you come out of this. And then my aunt finally took my son, because he wasn't going to sleep. He had his eyes on me dead set. But if I look back now, God was talking through my child. He uses the littlest things to get to you. So the very next day, the anesthesiologist comes in, and I'm in and out, and I'm going by what my mom said. She goes and tells me that I was something special. And my mom asked her, why you think my daughter is something special? She said, your daughter died twice on the operating table. She said the first time she woke up, she cried and said it hurt. She said the second time she woke up, we lost her. She woke up and she started speaking in a different language. She said, I'm only here because I want to know who she was talking to. And my mama looked at me. She said, Jeannie, she said, do you know who you were talking to? I said, no, I don't know who I was talking to. I don't know. I don't remember none of it. So the lady said, you're something special. Get this. My husband at the time didn't tell my mom that they lost me twice. He felt as though that was none of their business. See, when I got married, I had to sign twice, but I didn't listen. Back to what I was saying about my sickness. After my mom said that to me, and I said, Mama, I don't remember anything. And things were getting worse and worse. Finally, they had to put something in me because my organs were shutting down. And then finally, they was like, you know what? We're going to give you something. And if this doesn't wake you up, we're going to end up losing you. So they ended up giving me something. And I was so weak. I got up. I asked for help to get up. And I went to that bathroom. And I said, God, Lord, have mercy. If I gotta go this way, God, Lord, I told you I'm cool with it. There's something in my body. Oh God, something in my body came over me. That all of a sudden something released out of me. They heard it all the way out in the hallway. And the nurses came running in, like, what was that? And I said, whatever was in my body, I said, it just released. It released right in the toilet. It released. It was like when it was coming out of me, it would feel like so much pressure and so much pain, and it came out. And at that time, I was, and things started changing for me. My organs started kicking back. I wasn't as weak, and by that time, my husband and sister had called and asked how I was doing, and that showed me now that he wasn't really in communication with her of how bad, because by that time I was already in the hospital almost a week, and after my surgery, and she goes and proceeds to tell me that her dad needs a break from my boys, that I need to come home. And I proceeded to hand the phone to my husband then, and it was like, did you tell her how bad I really am? And he proceeds to tell me, you do need to go home. I'm ready to go. Not concerning my health. We got in a huge argument in there. Huge argument. And the doctors, even though things were looking good for me, the doctors didn't even want me to go home because I was still in the critical position that things could turn either or for me. But I knew I had to get home to my kids. And they told my husband at the time, we're going to put her under. She's going to be asleep for 2 hours. She can't withstand no car ride. She can't withstand anything. So we're going to have to put her under. So we're going to put her under, and you got 2 hours to get her home. And if something goes south, they was going to airlift me back to Duke. So he got me home just in time. And I didn't have my meds for a whole day, and I was in pain. Horrible pain. He said he was going to help get the kids together. He said he was going to do this, and he said this. I know God had me covered. God knew what was going on. I got up every day with a stomach split from here all the way down. Got my kids ready for school. Cooked them breakfast too. Every day. Let them go outside and play, but when you're in so much pain, you get mad all the time. And one of the mothers was like, my son said, you're mean, can come on. And when she finally realized that I was doing this the whole time and pushing, she started to help. She was like, let me take the boys for a little while. Let me do this for a little while. I hope you see in this first part of this video the message that I'm trying to teach you. I was in the world. I went to church on, off and on, but I wasn't praying to God at all. But God still covered me. Just because you're not in the church, praise him and everything, that don't mean he don't love you. You're still his son and daughter. It was a wake-up call for me. Some of us every day get these wake-up calls and still go out there. I have seen people have a heart attack, have one back to back, and still get out there and do what they was doing in the world. And not knowing God is giving you a knock to get it right. Because at the end of the day, I thought I was in the world. I was going through something personal myself. Because, two broken people get together, they hurt each other. My backstory, I was raised by my grandparents. So I suffer from daddy issues and abandonment. So I was battling and molestation, and I ended up getting raped when I was 13 years old. So I'm dealing with a lot of things at that moment in time. But God had to show me he was still there, regardless of that I was in the world. Regardless of all the mistakes that you made, or the mistakes that you're in, or a situation that you're in, God is always right there to help you. And he always sends, as I call it, angels. And what I mean by angels is people. Because sometimes people will come cross your path not knowing anything about you and just start talking to you. And you be wondering how they know about this situation. Or they'll be on a topic of something that you're going through and they're talking on it. I had a couple people when I was going through my situation that came to me, but I ignored it. So I had to learn a lesson to get me where I'm at today. And like I said, this video is called The Road to Redemption. This is just the first part of me opening my eyes to our Heavenly Father. Because it took me a long time to get right here. That was just the first thing that ever happened to me. Ever. But I still didn't listen. I was thankful, but I still didn't listen. And I still went into the world and did my own thing. That could get me in so much trouble if I didn't heed to him. There's people that should know me that I should be strung out on drugs. I should be in a crazy house. I should be just loco. But I'm going to tell you, my Heavenly Father has changed my life so much. And the people that come in contact with me, they're actually starting to see themselves. Oh, why they doing this for you? And, they're going on. I don't understand, especially my husband, because he don't understand half of the stuff that happens. And he be like, what in the world? But my videos is here just to help. Then when I was sick, God was still there. It was something right then for me to bring closer to him. And it acknowledged. And I saw how strong a woman I was going through my sickness for my children. A mother's love for her kids is very, very powerful. So our father love for his kids is very, very powerful. So I'm going to try to upload 10 videos, well, it'll be 9 after this, and each one has a different story of my testimony of where it led to me today. Now, some of the stuff is going to sound like it's on a movie, but honey, it happened to me. Happened to me. And sometimes I'll be like, what in the world? I say, God, you must think I am a bad mama jamma. I would love to hear everybody's stories. I want to hear somebody else's testimony. The more us disciples talk, the more we'll get to all God's people. He needs us. Our brothers and sisters need us because we're suffering out here so bad and we think we're alone, and we're not. Because my brother, I might be going through the same thing I'm going through, and I can help him. When you're going through it and somebody else going through it, and y'all come together and you put God and faith in that, and it only takes a mustard seed. You never know. So subscribe to my channel, and I will see you back. And like I said, I hope this helped somebody. It was just a story, but I hope you see where God played his part. Like I said, this is Jeannie. This is my very first video, and I see you back in another day or so. Bye.